Have you ever wondered where the soil comes from? Now come and join me, Teacher Danny, as we explore the Earth in this science episode. Weathering, erosion, and deposition are processes that act together to wear down and build up the Earth's surface. Now, these processes have occurred over billions of years. Now, weathering is any process that breaks down the Earth and creates sediments. When we say weathering, there are two forces that act on it. First is the mechanical or the physical weathering, and the other one is the chemical weathering. Now, chemical weathering is the decomposition of rocks caused by chemical reactions, resulting in the formation of new compounds. As to mechanical or the physical weathering, it is the breakdown of rocks into smaller pieces by physical means. Now, weathering breaks the Earth's surface into smaller pieces, and this may either be caused by the wind, the water, the ice, the plants, the gravity, and the changes in temperature. Now, those pieces are moved in the process called erosion and deposited somewhere else. Now, erosion is a process by which natural forces move weathered rocks and soil from one place to another. Gravity, running water, glaciers, waves, and wind all cause this erosion. Now, the material moved by erosion are what we call sediments. Now, deposition occurs when agents such as the wind or water of erosion lay down sediments. Now, deposition changes the shape of the land. Now, to better understand how erosion and weathering process works, let's break them down. Hulk smash! Now, the Earth's surface gets broken down through different types of weathering. Now, physical weathering is the breaking of rocks into smaller pieces. And usually we think of this as rocks falling or breaking. Now, can we say that this is weathering? Yes. Now, when these boulders of rock fell, they often break and crack and become small rocks. Water is often the main cause of weathering, either as rain or ice. Now, rainwater can easily enter cracks in rocks or sidewalks. And if this happens during cold months, the water may freeze and expand in the rock. Now, working as a wedge, the ice splits the rock, and many times, road crews have to patch up these holes caused by weathering from ice. Now, this is what we call as freeze thaw. This happens when the water freezes and this crack on the rock will expand. If moisture seeps into cracks before winter, it can then freeze, driving the rocks apart. The wind can also cause weathering. Over long periods of time, wind can wear rock and carry tiny pieces of rock into new places. We call this as abrasion. When the wind blows, it can pick up sand and silt and literally sandblast rocks into pieces. Now, this can create amazing landscapes such as rocks that look like mushrooms like this. Now, sometimes living things can cause weathering too. Plant roots can wedge their way in between small cracks in rocks, and this is called root expansion. Like freeze thaw, roots grow bigger every year. Now, these roots can drive the rocks apart. Now, as a plant grows, the roots increase the size of this rock little by little, and eventually, pieces of rocks break off and get carried by wind or water. Exfoliation is also a physical weathering brought by temperature, and when this temperature of rocks rapidly changes, that may expand or crack the rocks. This especially happens with igneous rocks as they were cooling. Now, another type of weathering is chemical weathering. Chemicals react in the environment all the time, and this causes chemical weathering. Now, major chemical reactions include carbonation, dissolution, hydrolysis, and oxidation reduction reaction. All of these reactions have water involved in them. Now, let's try to discuss one at a time. Carbonation is when water reacts with carbon dioxide, and it creates carbonic acid, which can dissolve softer rocks. Now, the second one is dissolution. This happens when limestones and rocks high in salt dissolve when exposed to water. The water carries away the ions. Now, the third one is hydrolysis. Minerals in rock react with water and surrounding acids. Now, the hydrogen atoms replace other cations. Now, as an example, feldspar usually hydrates to clay when hydrolysis occurs. And then the next one is oxidation reduction. This happens when water and rock particles react with oxygen. Now, this causes minerals and materials to rust and turns red. Now, take note. If the area is hot and humid, chemical weathering is more prevalent. And if it is drier, physical weathering is more predominant. Now, is weathering similar to erosion? To answer this, let's move back to our recent example of weathering. Rocks falling by gravity is an example of weathering. Now, as pieces of the earth are broken down by weathering, they are carried away in a process called erosion. Now, these weathered rocks are transported to different parts of the earth's surface. In simple words, erosion moves pieces of the earth. When gravity moves rocks and soil down a slope, a mass movement of soil happens. Now, a sudden movement of the land in a downhill location is known as landslide. Now, this is very dangerous for people in the upland, for it can destroy the entire towns.
Oh no!
Now, water is also a common way that pieces of the earth are moved to a new location. Now, we usually call this as water erosion. The water accomplishes the great change of the earth by erosion. Now, after the rain, the runoff dissolves fine rocks particles as it flows. Now, the strong force of the runoff carries pebbles, sand, and finer particles on its way down until these are carried farthest away. Now, aside from this runoff, even raindrops falling on the soil exert pressure with their weight. Now, this weight can easily felt when raindrops strike an umbrella or even in your hat. Now, this can cause noticeable movement of the soil. Now, if the soil is loose and is not protected by a covering on the surface, then large amount of it is lost through raindrop erosion, which is also called splash erosion.
Oh no!
Now, during heavy rains, there is more water than the soil can immensely absorb. The water then flows in broad sheets across a wide area, thus causing sheet erosion. This water may flow into a nearby stream to fill any depression in the area, or eventually it sinks into the soil. Now, this splash and sheet erosions are greatly feared by mostly our farmers because they remove valuable topsoil from our farmland. And raindrops loosen the surface of the water that flows in broad sheets, which carries away the fertile layer of the soil. This makes our farm less productive. Now, aside from gravity and water, the wind also contributes to the erosion by blowing the particles away. This is called wind erosion. Now, try to recall your experiences during windy day. Did you feel the dust or sand blown by the wind? Now, the process of wind carrying away loose sediments is called deflation. Usually, deflation occurs in desert regions. Now, as the wind blows along the ground, it scoops up and carries away the loose sediments such as the sand and the dust. Ouch! Now, for geographic locations with snows,
Elsa? Again. Elsa?
a great amount of snow that cannot easily melt can cause soil and rocks to move. The glaciers can pick up pieces of the earth and drag them to new locations. They are slow but powerful. Deposition now is when pieces of earth are deposited somewhere else. Now, the deposited materials can also create new landforms like mountains, valleys, sand dunes, and many others. Now, erosion has helped some of our most amazing features on Earth. Let's have a quick tour on that. Now, although erosion has helped shape our Earth, this can also be harmful to environment. Now, when soil is washed away from one place to another, it can carry harmful materials like chemicals, fertilizers, or pesticides which are used in the farms. Now, these are very dangerous chemicals and this can pollute our water supply. Imagine drinking water with chemicals, fertilizers, and pesticides. Now, we also see the effects of weathering and erosion every day. Now, splits in roads or sidewalks are caused by expansion of ice and the daily heating and cooling of the ground. Now, cracks in the road are also caused by weathering. But did you know that humans are also contributory to this erosion? Think about how these activities would affect the shape of the earth. First, the deforestation, or the clearing of trees. Imagine this transforming the forest into a clear land. 2. Extensive farming. Imagine when farmers use excessive fertilizer and too much irrigation for our farms. And 3 is housing, development, and road construction. Now, all of these affect the land area which was supposed to be a balanced habitat for man and other living creatures. Now, this also damages the land and makes the soil bare. Now, what can you do to conserve the soil and minimize the occurrences that will erode and remove the nutrient and mineral content on land? Now, use the comment box below to share your answers with other kids out there.
It's quiz time!
Here's a quick check. You are given 10 seconds to answer each question. Number 1. Which of the following is the correct definition of weathering? A. The breaking of rocks. B. Removal of rocks. Or C. Neither of the two.
Time's up.
And the answer is letter A. The breakdown of rocks. Number 2. Which of the following is the definition of erosion? A. The process of disintegration of rock and soil. B. The processes that involve the movement of soil and rock. C. They are both correct. Or D. Neither of them are correct.
Time's up.
And the correct answer is letter B, the process that involves the movement of rock and soil. Number 3. Which types of changes are included in the process of weathering? Is it A. Chemical changes, B. Physical changes, or C. Both?
Time's up.
And the answer is both. Chemical and physical are both included in the process of weathering. Next question. Erosion can be caused by which of the following? A. Wind. B. Water. C. Ice. D. Gravitational pull. Or E. All of the above.
Time's up.
And the correct answer is letter E, all of the above. Next question. After weathering occurs, what is left over from the rocks that have been broken down? A. Water. B. Dirt. C. Soil. Or D. None of the above.
Time's up.
The correct answer is letter C, soil. Next question. Are erosion and weathering dependent upon one another? A. Yes, they both need to occur for the cycle to continue. B. No, there are separate events that occur independently.
Time's up.
The correct answer is yes, they both need to occur for the cycle to continue. Now, this cycle is what we are referring to as the rock cycle. And then the last question. Which processes comes first? Erosion or weathering?
Time's up.
The correct answer is letter B, weathering. Good job, kids! Now I would like to see your scores. Don't forget to comment your scores below. Now before I end this, it has been my covenant to make the world clean and green as a plantito. And we must do our part in preventing erosion by planting more trees in areas where these are very needed. Now I encourage you to plant more trees and participate in activities in preserving and maintaining our environment. Until next time, bye-bye!